Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Wixo Season 2. We are now on episode 10 of this series, and in the last episode we saw a bunch of stuff take place all throughout the world, and I'm pretty sure we actually saw events in every single region, but the biggest things, just for a little bit of a recap, we saw a few more countries pop up in the Americas, we saw a very large Middle Eastern war which is kind of a continuation of the collapse of the Sudanese Empire, which we have been focusing on for a couple of episodes. And we also saw a bunch of expansion and exploration all over the place. But if you guys do end up enjoying this episode, please do be sure to like, subscribe, and once again, leave any suggestions in the comments. So first things first, we need to come over to Moldova specifically, but kind of in this Ukrainian region, because in the last episode, Greece did this, which is slightly concerning. And another thing slightly concerning for Moldova, other than, them recovering fast, Greece has actually managed to pay their debts quickly. Now, they are not paying their debts ridiculously fast. It's been about 15 years since the war, and they've almost finished paying their debt. And this is something that Moldova is kind of worried about, because this is a lot faster than they thought they'd be able to. They hoped they would kind of just cripple Greece for a while, but Greece is actually doing really well. So, to counter that, Moldova's going to expand. And unfortunately, they're going to be expanding into another country, and it's unfortunately for these guys. Unfortunately for Crimea, going to be them, because they've been here for quite a while. That they haven't really done much. They got invaded by Moldova twice. The first time was when Moldova broke away from them, so this is them invading their parent country, which is a bit strange, but they want this land. And they also have ambitions further eastwards, and to do that, goodbye. So, they conquer this country. Afterwards, they conquer a little bit more of the southern Ukrainian area lands. They just conquer a few of these tribes, just like so, and they are able to do pretty well. And after this, they just keep on going. They begin to conquer areas around the Sea of Azov, making a landing down here, and this is quite tricky because there is actually quite a lot of mountain tribes and stuff in this area. However, they do manage to do pretty well. They also move in up this portion of the Volga River, and they just settle around the coast nicely, and overall this is a pretty nice expansion for them. Speaking of Moldova, more so kind of friends of Moldova, in the south, Trebizond is going to expand. Trebizond has been doing really well recently. They have gotten a bunch of money from Constantinople in the reparations of that war, and it's just helping them fund their army to go out and conquer, and they have been able to do just that very well. Over here we have Azerbaijan continue to expand. These guys got into that large Middle Eastern war in the last episode, and they are forming themselves up as a pretty notable regional power. We also have them exploring a little bit more of the Southern Caucasus, as well as some more areas of Central Asia around the Caspian Sea. Essentially, we just have explorers from all over the place just continue to move in and chart this area more so. In the south, we have the Mesopotamian puppet states continue to expand, and they're getting close to original Iraq, who lost this land many episodes ago. These guys really haven't done anything, so just to kind of catch up on what they've been doing, we have them expand and move over to this sort of UAE region. However, after a while, and with a little bit of mismanagement, which definitely doesn't help, we have a breakaway state go ahead and form up over here. And these guys are being led by a member of the monarchy family who just wants his own country, and he's kind of selfish, so he just goes for it and breaks away. Speaking of the countries down here, we have the big trading kingdoms continue to expand, and we actually have our first war between trading kingdoms, or rather our first war between the Arabian trading kingdoms, to be more specific. As we have Oman, which I'm going to call this one Oman, even though this is kind of also Oman, but we have Oman beginning to invade Yemen. And they quickly move in, and they actually surround the capital. They have a much larger navy, as they are kind of closer to India. And overall, not a good day to live in Yemen, as this country just gets ravaged. And we actually see Oman is going to be fully annexing Yemen here, so that's probably not great. Over in the north, we have Lebanon, who has just gotten out of a war. Once again, a lot of these countries that have just gotten out of wars, it has strengthened them to the level of where they are now able to continue expanding. They expand up, and they actually meet up with the border of Trebizond, which is interesting. These two have never even shared any relations, and now they border each other. And the centre land is going to mostly go over to Turkey but a little bit of it is going to go over to Trebizond in the north. We actually have a new country going ahead and forming up over here in Iran, this fairly large turquoise country in the south. And we also have this orangey sort of yellowy country go ahead and form up in the north as well. And these guys are essentially just city-states that have just gotten a bit of outreach from their capital city. And they're all extremely weak, and they fully rely, like, their entire economy's trade. If these guys lost trade, they would be completely cooked. Over in India, the green country expands a little bit, and they're actually going to be doing some interesting things, as we have them launching an invasion of the brown country. However, as you may know, the brown country and the blue country up here are friendly with each other, and the blue country does not like this. So after we have a little bit of an invasion, and the green team actually captures the capital, which, a bit of a slow response from these guys, the blue country joins in, and they begin to invade in. However, the green country, you could probably just tell by the map, not only do they have access to the coast, they're also much larger. They have a much larger army as well. They're much stronger, more money from trading, especially. That's the handiness of having that coast. So they still manage to kind of hold off the front line on the brown team, and even with fighting two countries at once, they are able to push back. And perhaps Blue India isn't the greatest ally, because as soon as their territory starts to get invaded into, they immediately go ahead and capitulate over and just agree to a little bit of border loss. And yeah, they leave their friend to die, so that's not very nice of you, but yeah, these guys, they just get destroyed essentially. After this, the green team continues to expand a little bit more eastwards, and this also goes along with a little bit more exploration of the rest of these sort of fertile areas in northern India. And as you can now see, we are getting very close to our Asian and Indian countries meeting. Down in the south, we have a bunch more of India to be explored, and we have the first time that the Old World and Indian countries have reached the Bay of Bengal and Sri Lanka. And what would you know, Sri Lanka country, but yeah, Sri Lanka finally. So it's essentially just a trading kingdom. In the south of the mainland of India, we have the purple country expand. These guys actually do very well. They have set themselves up pretty nicely, and there are really not that many tribes down here, which makes this land extremely easy to conquer. And they set up proper establishment with the Sri Lanka country, and even colonize a little bit of the Bay of Bengal coast. We also have this new dark blue country form up. Essentially what we're seeing is just where trading is, the regional people there, or people moving there because of the trade, essentially just form their own countries, and this is really driving a bunch of the new country forming, especially in this whole region over here. And we have a similar phenomenon happening over here in Southeast Asia with the trading kingdoms down here as well. Up in the north, we have the Gujarat country expand, and we actually have something new form due to not wanting to be exploited by any new countries trading in, and also the fact that they are friendly with each other, they have good relations. We actually have an alliance going ahead and forming up here, and it's going to be an economical alliance between the two largest Indian countries. I believe this is only our second economical alliance in history, the first one being the Greece and Constantinople on over here. But yeah, these guys go ahead and form themselves up this economical alliance. And I think one final event over here in India, because I don't want to focus on this too long, I have been on this section for a while. We have a new sort of Nepal-ish country form up. I believe these guys are near Nepal. Yeah, close enough. But yeah, we have this country form up in the north. These guys are just a big farming kingdom, essentially, and they are just chilling. They kind of just form themselves around their capital city. And I guess these guys in the north can expand a tad as well, since they haven't done anything in a while. Anyway, moving away, we now need to take a look at our daily Japan update, which is essentially just going to be the finalization of colonization and a little bit of a dispute happening. So in the south, here, it's fairly uniform where the borders end up being. And in Hokkaido, same thing here. I think it's probably about time we finally have this finished off, as Hokkaido is successfully able to unite itself. However, over here, the pink Japanese country and the light blue one, they have a little bit of a dispute, as with them realizing that there is definitely tensions here for this land. With them moving in, they send in a huge chunk of their armies to fight off the tribes and conquer this land. However, it's only a matter of time after, they don't realize where the borders are set, so they're relatively new. So we have the countries kind of moving into land that the other ones have already sort of conquered, and eventually, yeah, you can probably tell where this is going. A battle between the two armies is eventually started by the pink Japanese country moving into land that they did not know was claimed by this country. However, a garrisoning army was staying in a town nearby, and they heard news of this and battle. So yeah, a bit of a land dispute war over here. In the south, as soon as hearing word of this takes place, we have the pink country moving their army and actually cut this in two. They had just conquered this land, as you had seen. So yeah, that's really unlucky for these guys. And I'm not gonna lie, with this supply line being cut off, and also the fact that these guys are actually being funded by Purple Japan, because Purple Japan doesn't like these guys. You'll see why in a second. We have these guys just immediately not do very well. They have to evacuate their army by boat, but about 2/3 of it doesn't manage to leave because they didn't have the naval infrastructure to do a retreat. And yeah, Purple Japan wants the coast, which is why they don't like them. And yeah, they join in because of this. And unfortunately for Light Blue Japan, yeah, it's kind of over. We even have the green one in the south get in on this because it's just free real estate, to be fair. And yeah, we can now take a look at a peace treaty. It's essentially, I'll do it as I'm talking, but it's essentially you get what you take, or you get what you took, rather, as we just have the borders being divided up by occupation zones, like so. And I think that's our first Japanese country gone, so rip. Up in the north, we have China continue to expand. However, like I had been saying before, these guys have still not really fixed any of those issues, and a lot of the populace is starving, and the farmers are not happy, and after a series of droughts, it's just really not looking so good. And China is starting to become a little bit wary of this as an issue. However, the monarchy, which is absolute, sticks its head in the sand and does not really pay attention to this. As I've been drawing while I was talking about that, we also have this country expand. And Korea hasn't done anything in a while. They have just been chilling for the past few decades, probably maybe a bit over 100 years. They finally start to expand again and just essentially move up around this coast. We also have a bit more exploration into the Manchuria areas. And I feel like this area probably would have been discovered a while ago. But yeah, we finally have this being charted. And we have more boats being sent in around Indonesia, and we have the discovery of Java and Borneo. We also finally, as well, along with this, have the discovery of the Philippines, which I feel like is probably a bit overdue, to be fair. And we have Taiwan setting up a colony in the northern Philippines, as well as, you guessed it, Burma. However, Burma sets a colony up in Borneo instead of the Philippines, but then, like 2 seconds later, they set one up here as well. So yeah, they're really going in on colonization. They've got a lot of areas in the South China Sea now, and we also finally, this probably should have happened before the Borneo and Philippines colonization. They finally conquer the straits down here, so now they have control of the trade that comes in and out of this strait. Which, I mean, isn't really an issue because the only people coming through this were them anyway, because they're the only country on this side of the water. But yeah, it's just nice for them to have it for themselves. Down in Australia, this blue country is actually going to collapse. After a string of bad leadership and famines and everything, the cities just run barren as people migrate elsewhere, and eventually this just leads to the collapse of the country. And now this has happened with a few countries elsewhere before, but I believe this is the first time an Australian country has collapsed. It might have happened once before, actually, I don't remember. But most of the people actually move up to this pink country, and because of this we have a boom in population and expansion and exploration of this country as well, because that comes along with them having more people. And they begin to conquer this, like, jutty outy bit in northern Australia. I'm not sure what it's called. And we actually have them discovering, well, not discovering, but taking parts of land on the coast of the Pacific Ocean. We also have this country down in the south conquer a bit of Tasmania, as well as these islands. Over in the Americas, we actually have something pretty notable happen. As I had mentioned previously, due to them just being fundamentalist religious peoples in this country, and the fact that it's essentially just run as a theocracy, as you can see. Like I've said, Mississippi has been stagnating in technology. Many technological developments or scientific developments are seen as going against the religion, such as in this religion, like in the text, because it wasn't known at the time when it was written. They believe the Earth is flat, as it had been thought that. However, recently some astronomers in this country have discovered that the Earth is round by observing the stars and everything, but because they are so fundamentalist religious peoples, they just call this blasphemy, and that's just one example, and many other things like this are happening, which is just preventing any scientific discovery and stuff like that. And because of this, we actually see something major happen. This is what I am leading on to here. We actually have Mississippi. They attempt to conquer some of this Texan land, but we actually have them lose a battle to the nearby tribe, which is very shocking, and this is actually the first time this has happened. They then try again in Florida, and while it doesn't go as bad, they still lose some land that they have just gained, like, very quickly after taking it, and they don't manage to gain as much land as they wanted to. However, once again, these guys just stick their head in the sand, and they just continue on with their religious beliefs, which is not looking so good for them. And in the south, we'll see how they're falling behind, because the Mexican countries, they are continuing to advance, and despite the fact that they're really small and not unified in the slightest, at this point their technology is somewhat even, and there are many technologies that these guys have that Mississippi doesn't. And this is allowing them to rapidly conquer the remaining lands. And this is made easier by the fact that a lot of people in this area that is unclaimed are actually part of this religion. So many of the peoples are actually willing to join them. And eventually we see most of this land now be conquered. There's just a tiny bit of it here left. We also have more and more tribes down in the south join up with Venezuela, and at this point it's becoming somewhat of a confederation, which is very weird to see, especially for this early time. But each tribe region has their own power, and this is also represented by the fact that these guys are not an absolute monarchy, they are a constitutional monarchy, obviously because the regional tribes have their own aspect of rule, like I said. Now, while Mississippi didn't manage to conquer anything in the mainland, Cuba doesn't have any people on it. There are no native Cubans. The people have never managed to reach this area until like actual proper countries developed. So they do manage to take Cuba, and this is further sort of confirmation that they're still doing all right. Even though on the land it's really shown that they're not when they actually have to fight people and not just jungle. So yeah. I guess they can also have the Bahamas as well, why not? In the north, however, these guys do manage to conquer actual people as they continue to move up, and they have now formed themselves a very nice East Coast sort of big country. In the south, the Peruvian and Ecuadorian countries are still just kind of chilling. They are trading with each other and everything, so yeah, once again, kind of just a peaceful place down in the south. Over in Persia, we have Azerbaijan continue to conquer in, taking over many of these regional tribes, and they are starting to, once again, like I did say earlier, they are starting to really cement themselves as a regional power. It already kind of was defined as that, but now they are very strong, and they are probably on par with countries like Egypt now. Countries like Egypt and probably Constantinople. I mean, Egypt's probably stronger. Oh yeah, that actually reminds me, I probably should do power rankings this episode, so I might do that in a second. But yeah, Azerbaijan, they just continue expanding on, and similar to their puppet state as well, which already did expand earlier in this episode. This country has also finally started to expand. They've just set themselves up nicely, and now they're doing okay. Although these guys, they want to take a piece out of them. Anyway, up in the north, we have a bunch more discovery take place due to like naval stuff and trade ships, just a whole load of ocean discovery, and with, you know, trade driving this sort of stuff, the entirety of the British Isles as well as Ireland are explored, and we have Normandy continue to expand not only in the British Isles but also on their mainland. They move up and they actually kind of found a border with this blue country, and they also found a more proper border with this country. I'm just going to improve that a little. We also have them expanding down south, sort of near to the Pyrenees. And yeah, overall, it's just going fairly well for Normandy. If I called this country Brittany a second ago, I'm sorry, that is my bad. I think I might have. But speaking of Brittany, Brittany wants a piece of that colonial pie, so they send their ships up north, and they actually found a colony in Ireland, which is a little bit annoying because these guys tried to invade Brittany in the last episode. They failed. They actually lost that war. It wasn't like a stalemate. They actually lost. And now Brittany's colonizing lands that they definitely had ambitions on, and they can't really do much about it. So yeah, that's not great for Normandy. Speaking of a little bit of rivalry with colonial ambitions, Belgium is on the move, and Belgium, they were the ones that actually discovered a lot of this part of the North Sea. We actually have Belgium setting up a colony around Scotland. So yeah, more of this land that they probably would have wanted to get is now being taken by other countries. In the north, Italy explores more now, like going partially into the southern region of the Alps, and they do this in order to conquer this land, of course. So yeah, they're kind of just chilling at the moment. We do have them move in a little bit to the Balkans, however, they are kind of just relaxing for now, and they've set themselves up nicely, and they are one of the most stable countries in the Mediterranean due to this. Over in Iberia, we have a new country spawning into the center. This is kind of like a Madrid country, or at least that's what I'll call it. And along with this, the rest of the Iberian countries expand. Mostly along the coast because of trade ambitions, and we have our first border meeting. Whoops, and we have our first sort of like official border be set up with Spanish countries now touching each other and stuff. That's now bordering each other. Yes, we have Spain continue to expand further inwards towards Madrid. And in the north, we have this gold country, which I don't have a name for, so I guess you guys can pick it in the comments. These guys expand now up towards the coast and have a bit more of a proper border with Galicia. We also actually have our first German country in this northern area. However, it's really small, and this country forming is actually just a tribe finally getting like proper technology and just deciding to establish themselves up. So yeah, a lot of new small countries forming around everywhere, it seems. Anyway, now we are going to be taking a look at one final event that is going to be a pretty large focus of the next episode, and to see that we need to come over here to the Balkans. So Greece and Moldova, despite the fact that they had that war, obviously they've still got a pretty big rivalry. Greece is annoyed that they lost that war, and Moldova is annoyed that Greece recovered from losing that war. And because of this, it's just tensions are still rising up. And at this point, we are going to be seeing Moldova take advantage of a few issues that Greece still has for its own personal gain, and this will be leading to something pretty large. As throughout Greece, now, the soldiers, they haven't been paid, obviously, still, but it has been a while since, that war, and at this point, most of them have either died or gotten over it, but there is still a substantial amount of soldiers and the children of soldiers who are very annoyed that, either them or their parents weren't paid, and probably about there's probably about 20,000 people with this mentality in Greece, which is a substantial amount compared to Greece's actual army. Greece's army is about 80,000 strong, probably. So yeah, there are definitely a lot of people, not really happy. And why am I comparing it to the size of their actual army? Well, that is because, pretty out of the blue, after a little bit of build-up and some, maybe external circumstances, we have a bit of a breaking point take place in Greece, and this is something that Greece really had not expected. As in certain regions, in very suspicious places, we have these retired soldiers and, their families rebelling away. As these guys have not got paid, they are not, justified. They are justifiably annoyed at Greece. However, they want their money and they're trying to get it, right, so they're breaking away. But the thing that's weird about this is Greece has, it's been a while, and Greece has mostly, calmed these guys down, so, it's kind of surprising that, this is happening. And Greece, they're like, okay, well, this is going to be really easy. Once again, we have 5 times more soldiers than these guys do. However, as they are moving in, they discover something pretty concerning. These soldiers, the currency that they were using in battlefields that Greece invades and takes over is Moldovan currency, and furthermore, they are using Moldovan shields. Moldovan shields are extremely strong. They make them out of proper steel. And it doesn't really take long to put it together that the reason that these guys, despite this tension cooling down because it's been a while since the war and them not really seeing why this would happen, it's now very clear that this happened because Moldova is funding these rebels in order to attempt to weaken Greece. And because of this, we have Greece, for a second time in history, declaring war on Moldova. But that will be covered in the next episode, as for now, that is going to be it for this one. I really hope you guys did enjoy, and I will see you in the next one.